This is a demonstration video of a Sargent and Greenleaf time lock that has an integrated bolt motor mechanism and was custom made for the Cary Safe Company around 1893. This particular unit was used on the Cary Company's money chests, which were fairly small, safe units. As of the time of this recording, which is in early 2026, I have only seen 3 examples of the Cary Safe Company automatic, and this is the only complete example. There is one other that is missing the decorative plate, which you will see in a moment, and another that simply has the case only without any of the Sargent and Greenleaf mechanism. So now I will open the unit. And we here see the interior. Here is the Sargent and Greenleaf triple movement. And this area here is the bolt mechanism, which protrudes from here. And this decorative plate is what I referred to earlier that was missing from the other known unit, but otherwise has the rest of the components. Now, the way one can see how the bolt works, and currently all of these movements are run completely down, so it is now on the off guard position. So this bolt here can be pushed outward when this is pulled down. You can see how the bolt now is completely flush. And when this is pulled down, it comes out just a little because there's still some spring loading in this mechanism. And the bolt is then armed by hand by turning this. And you can see how this now moves over here. And I'm being careful because it is rather powerful springs in here, and it's a little hard to turn. Now, this piece here, you can see is a polished curve. And how this works is once this is actuated, the way it's supposed to work is that you turn this until it would then lock, and this would be held back by this piece here. And this is mounted on a door which turns. And the door turns, the lock turns, this turns at the same time and encounters a ramp which will then, at the right time, allow this to be depressed through pushing down on this piece here. And this bolt would now be under full compression if this were actually completely wound. And the bolt then would jump outward about that far, which you saw earlier, and automatically put the safe on guard. So now what I will do is wind up all of these time locks. And I'm just winding them a few hours so as to allow this to actually be demonstrated. All of the time locks have now been wound to about 4 hours. And you can probably hear them in the background. So I'm going to arm this now. And the thing to watch is as this lever pushes this post downward, which compresses 2 springs, one here and here, inside of this case. This, of course, is going to remain retracted because it's being held by this piece here. Okay? Watch this wheel here, which will allow for this mechanism then to be retracted. So now this is turned, and I'm trying to hold this because the torque is going to want to twist this whole thing around. And there you see the disc turn. And what that has done is lock this in place. So this now is kept. The springs are now compressed. If I were to push this downward, this would jump out with a terrific force, which I'm not going to do because I don't want to damage the unit. Remember, when it's in the safe, it has a load because it's being pushed into a crevice, but most of all, this is all mounted to a very, very heavy safe. And so it absorbs the recoil that will happen when this thing jumps out. So we're not going to allow that to happen. But basically, this thing has now turned counterclockwise ever so slightly. And if I were to have wound these a little bit more, this would have really made very little difference as to how far this has gone. So when these wind to zero, this snubber bar will be pushed forward, and you can see the end of the snubber bar here is between these two pins, which will force this to move clockwise, which then allows this to fall into this opening in this wheel here, this cam. And when that happens, this will then be suddenly allowed to retract, and the bolt will then jump forward. So when these time locks get to zero, this disc will revolve clockwise, and this will then fall into the opening in the disc, allowing the springs to suddenly make this jump backwards. And when it jumps backwards, you see this? It will jump back and will then suddenly be kept by this on the recoil as it's jumping back, so that it is held perfectly flush with the rest of this, which is important because otherwise, even if it were this much, it probably would prevent the door from opening because the door wouldn't be able to rotate because you'd be caught on this area. But when the spring is suddenly allowed to retract backwards, this will catch it and make it perfect so it can then be opened. Now the time locks are wound to about 4 hours, and we're now going to arm this automatic bolt motor. Now again, it's in the unarmed position, and if you push this down, it moves out ever so slightly. This is the keeper that we described before. So I'm going to now arm it by pulling the keeper downwards so that I can slowly slide the bolt out rather than allowing it to jump out when this would be arming through the rotation of the door. Okay, and now you have seen, here is a bolt fully protruding. This disc has moved counterclockwise, and now everything is being held with this lever here. Once these time locks go to 0, they're going to push this snubber bar to the right, which is going to move this disc clockwise, which is then going to allow this lever to fall into this recessed area here. And that will allow the springs to jump back and put this off guard. When this retracts, the keeper, which is down here, will catch this and keep it exactly flush. So we're going to do this in slow motion by just doing this by hand. Now I'm going to push this wheel over, allowing this to retract under tension. And again, this would be flying back with some force, so it would automatically let this keeper make it perfectly flush with the door, thus allowing it to be off guard and the correct combination to be dialed in and the safe to be opened. And this completes the demonstration of the Cary time lock. What you see here is the shroud which goes around it in the safe. The time lock itself is just this portion here.